What is up and welcome back, guys. Today is the final assembly for the engine for Project Daily. So I left you last time, we put this in, we put the main throttle or intake on, and we left it at that. Well, as I said, I was gonna just do a little bit behind camera and I was gonna put or finalize this just because it takes forever. And you guys will know if you've ever modified a Subaru. This is like the death of you. It's not a super hard install. It's just so tight in everywhere where it's supposed to go. So I put on these caps. I'm pretty sure we don't use these anymore because it's evap, but we'll confirm as we work today and work throughout all of our progress. But what we're doing so far, we got this on, we got this guy on. So there's a hose clamp there. This is held on with there's a little bit of thread lock in there. You're supposed to do that. This hose clamp isn't tightened down, and then this guy is the death. So if you guys have Subarus, you guys will know that Subarus use a recirculation system for the essentially blow-off valve. Instead of actually just venting the atmosphere, it vents back into the intake right here. So what that means is you need to get air from the intercooler up here to that, which means this hose is the stupidest thing ever. So to get it in here, I had to like bend and push and play, and it was not fun. But I did eventually get it in there. I did take off the throttle body. I figured out that these are super stretched, these bolts. So next time we change it over or do something, probably next winter, we're gonna have to change those out because they are stretched. Someone over torqued them, maybe me, maybe the previous owner, don't know. But that's on there, and then that was really the last guy in there. We got one little hose we got to run up. I believe it goes from here to here. It's coolant, so I believe it's for to finish the loop in here. So not too bad. And then we need to wire everything up. And then for the rest of the day, we'll probably be plumbing everything up because there's a lot of lines, coolant lines. The coolant tank goes back on here. And then just all this fun little Subaru lines you guys know and love. And then we got to wire up the two new gauges, or the two new senders on there. We do have a third sender, but it is a fuel pressure sender, so we don't have to worry about it. I'm just trying to find the wires right now. They're pretty long, so we don't really have to worry. I don't know where they went. But all we're doing is running from, oh, there they are. Running these guys, so these plugs. One from this guy, and then one from this guy, and just running it alongside the stock wiring harness right to here, which then will run to the firewall. So we're all good to go there, but this isn't the first thing we're going to do. I think the first thing I want to do is I want to get the wiring plugged back in, figure out if we've missed something, and figure out what plugs we don't need anymore. Because they are some evap, we don't need them. With doing the wires, we do have to put on a little shielding again. I don't know where that went. There's a little piece of metal shielding that I painted. That goes on right here. That didn't take very long at all to run into a problem. So literally, I was just looking at this bracket right here. I didn't even plug in one cable yet. I was looking at this bracket because it shields the rear injector from, I guess, the turbo, and same with this little adapter here. So it goes in like that, and it supports the coolant tank. The coolant tank's not held on. I'll show you guys before we mount it exactly what went to on. It's just black paint, but it just makes it look a little cleaner. But this holds on right here. This holds on to this. But this bracket, this edge right here, mounts onto nowhere. And actually there's a spot on the stock TGVs that actually mounts onto. So this arm right here is essentially useless. So I'm going to take the angle grinder and just chop it off because, well, we don't need it and it's just going to scratch up stuff. So I'll chop that off, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of paint on where it's raw metal. And then while that's drying, we'll continue working on plugging stuff in. It's getting good, guys. So guess what? We have one whole side wired up. So this side's all wired up. I figured out where this little plastic bracket goes, right here. And then it mounts here and here. And then you have your ground. As you can tell, it's not very beautifully wrapped, but it's good enough. And then we have our injectors. TGVs are not wired up anymore because, well, we don't have anything to wire them up. So I just tucked the wire back there. And then we got our spark plugs. I have some glue setting for this to hold that back. I was worried, oh no, which spark plugs go where? But then I realized they only reach to one, so that makes sense. It's tucked behind here, so it kind of runs up and behind, and then this is your main plug for your harnesses. Runs in here. Not sure where this one goes yet. I need to figure this one out. I think there's one on the other side too. Maybe not, but we will see. So next is wiring the center. So literally it's this feedback knock one right here. The throttle body, it's already kind of mocked up, so just push that in. And then I think that's I actually don't know what kind of sensor that is. But then that goes here, and then we got to figure out this hose still. I still don't know what it is. It's a coolant hose running somewhere, but we'll work on that once we get this all wired up. Also, the bracket that goes here is cut up and it's painted, so it's just drying now. And then by the time we get all of this wired up, we will have that bracket all dried, and we can put it on here. Then we can take this off, fix it up, and then run some more plumbing, because there's a lot on these Subarus. It's not like your old Chevy pickup or whatever where it's like three or four lines. No, there's a lot more than that. Anyways, I'm going to continue wiring. I will catch up to you once we put on that next back bracket. We have the center wired up essentially. Another one of these plugs. I think this one is for the evap sensor that goes right here, which we don't need anymore, so I will keep that just in case, but it will go somewhere. And then, as I said, this is power steering, and this is the useless oil pressure. Next thing is wiring up this guy and that guy down here. I also put the silicone back on the throttle body, and then wired up, well, the one guy there, that was it. So essentially what this guy and the other guy need to do is follow existing lines. So there's a plug or wire right here. So we plug this in. Also, another clue, if you don't know what gauges I'm getting yet, there's the plug into something. And we'll plug so this plugs into here, and then we're going to run this along here and right along this side and right out with this guy. And then this guy's even easier. It's going to run right here, around and up. So there we go. We have this guy all wired up, ran just alongside that wiring harness part. And then we have this guy jumps in here, just one zip tie, and then they are just held on by a zip tie here. And then I've just stop them here for now, because they'll run through essentially that little hole in the firewall right through here into the driver's side and work our way from there. So now, since that is done, we've worked here. I need to figure out this coolant line. While we try to do that, I'm also going to start to hook up some of the wiring on the side. I think I found the line. So it's coolant, as I said, because you have the coolant in off of your crossover pipe through here, up here into the throttle body, and then it warms the throttle body, warms the throttle body. Don't ask me why they do this. I'm not an engineer, but goes through the throttle body, comes through, and then returns back down through this hose right here. It's kind of shaped funny, but it makes sense why it's shaped funny. So it pushes up against here, runs down, and then straight down into here, and then into this bottom hose that runs to your heater core in your car. And while we were doing that, this is all ready to go. So this is our painted bracket. So as you've seen, there is no piece right here anymore. It's nice and flat, cut off and painted. So what it does is it mounts right in here. So I'm going to mount that like that, but I have to leave it loose just because we need to figure out where the actual coolant tank goes. But I think I hear a car outside. Adrian said he was going to be doing something to his car. I can't remember what. I said it a while ago, didn't I? But yeah, so he decided to bring his car out and show me what he did. Sounds the same. So good. So damn good, guys. You guys don't know what I'm looking at right now, but let me tell you, it looks amazing. Holy. It is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. It's a little bit dusty though, but it's pretty perfect. There, that's what he did. Adrian, what did you do to your car? Okay, cool.
The wheels on it.
Just wheels, eh?
And suspension.
What suspension did you put on?
HKS Hypervax GTs.
Those, and then you did sway bars, right? Adjustable?
Adjustable rear, 25mm front and rear.
So this thing's gonna drive like it's on rails. Oh, and, you know, our compound tires, so it is perfect. I'm just gonna get a little bit closer. Damn! So me and Adrian are both like the perfect fitment. He's got actually a little tiny bit more poke than me. That is so good though. And then I think you can kind of see the new coilovers. in there, and then I don't know if we're gonna see.
Probably better in the back.
Probably in the back. That fitment's so good.
I know.
So good. Damn. It's a real race car now. You guys, yeah, you can see, there you go. Bright. Is that red? Yeah, red or orange sway bar. Another thing you guys can't really see is Great North Performance. Yeah, those guys, those are his end links. Oh yeah, you can just see him right up there. So that is another part that he went in. So yeah, this thing is literally just gonna drive like it's on rails. Holy. I should have probably also mentioned the spec. They're a 265, 3518, so they are 1 inch bigger, but they're also 10 mil wider. So he's got a little more grip than me, but this is because the rears on here have about 10 mil of extra space where mine doesn't, and the guards are already cut on his car, so like this is absolutely a perfect setup. Look at that. Also, another thing about these tires, they're actually Bridgestone R003s. RE003s, but they're actually a Firestone tire here in Canada because Canada's silly. Well, we're waiting for the coolant tank to dry, so I figured out there's a coolant hose that comes here, so this just goes in the bottom, and the rest of the coolant tank stuff is up top. We're going to delete our evap. Well, it's pretty easy because I'm going to full delete. There's nothing gonna stay. So there's usually a sensor that sits in here. There's a bunch of T's and stuff that help bring the gases in. But because the sensor, or we're doing a complete delete and we're actually not even using the sensor because we're deleting the code, we can just take that all out. So essentially all you gotta do is cap off all the stuff here, here, and here. And then you just gotta zip tie these, and then there you go. The whole thing is sealed up and you're good to go. Just make sure when you're in the engine bay yourself, you're gonna cap off your line that brings it in. So it'll be this line, I believe. You're gonna cap it off right in here so that you don't get any like vacuum leaks. And then just make sure that it is not your fuel line. So it's this guy, I know, because it's a thin one. So it's the one in the middle. Cap it off right here. I'll cap that off once I'm in the engine bay a little bit later. We got another piece on, so these are the intercooler brackets. There's one here, mounts on here and here. A little bit difficult with the turbo being on, but it wasn't too hard. I decided to run these lines actually on this side. We could have ran them both ways, but just to keep them away from the turbo, we ran them this way. So that's all good. This bracket is on there. We're just waiting for that coolant tank, and then we can drop that on. Also, we figured out there's actually 2 different wires for the TGVs, so we have one, we had the one we figured out before, which is the big one, and we have this little 2-prong guy. They're both just going to be tucked up under, already did on that side too. Got our other intercooler bracket right there, all mounted up. I need to figure out this one, so this one's the one I need to figure out, and this one I need to figure out. So I need to go on some parts diagrams and figure out where they go, because I have no idea. I'm pretty sure these 2 that are plugged aren't necessity. Maybe this one is. This might be used for the system that I haven't told you about yet. But the coolant tank isn't perfectly dry, but you know what? We're just gonna toss it on because I want to figure out these lines. And we're getting so close, guys. Adrian came in and he was like, oh, this engine's actually looking like an engine now. So we're getting somewhere. So I'm gonna put it on the tank. So it just literally bolts here, here, and then you got a line here. It's not too difficult. And then we'll figure out what to do with the rest of this because, as I said, we're missing the bracket here. And then we might be able to run some lines through this guy. I know there's a clip that goes here that holds on stuff, but I don't know. I might have broke it off, so we might not actually be using it. Aha, I figured something out. So we're doing some more of the line plumbing right now. So since we have this tank on now, we can run this line here. Usually these connect, like go from here to here, but because we're running something maybe in this area right here, this will actually be connected here and here. I do have to trim the hoses still, but that's not big of a deal. I can always just take off these hose clamps. I just wanted to get them on there so I'm kind of understanding more of the lines. And then so I figured out this guy right here. So this usually has, there's a little white thing. This guy right here. This is for your PCV system, so positive crankcase ventilation. So this usually is here. It's got not really any function. It's straight through. So I don't know what's the reason behind it, but Subaru just kind of puts it in there. But what we're gonna do here is we're actually going to, or what I did is we just simplified it again. This is a connector. Me and Adrian were trying to figure this out. And this connector actually, all you do is you pull out the little metal jumper out of this thing. So there's no metal in here anymore. Kind of like in this diagram, pull it out and then just insert it here and then black tape it up. And there you go, that's the only thing. So that is going good. So I gotta figure out these lines. I can't remember what these lines do. I know there's this guy, I believe. And this, as far as I believe right now, this runs across and up and to the system right here. So I gotta figure that one out. If it does, I do have some line. I actually will have lots of extra line too here, so we should be good. There is the stock line that kind of runs up and around. But because the way we're doing this, we actually don't have that, and I broke it a long time ago. It cracked. We don't have that, so we can either run it under, which, yeah, that's not happening, or we're gonna just run it over and top and around. So we're probably gonna end up doing that. And then these, I think one of these is used for your boost controller. So your boost controller, you have one that connects to the actual turbo itself, and then you have one that connects to the manifold. I can't remember where I left you guys off. I think I was trying to figure out some hoses. Oh, well, obviously, this whole thing is figuring out hoses. But I think I have everything ready, and this guy is ready to go back in the Project Daily tomorrow, guys. So, of course, we don't have any of the power steering or AC. That's just because, well, the brackets need to be cleaned with some brake cleaner. I'm grabbing that tomorrow. But they all just bolt up, and they're not too difficult. So it's really not that bad. But let's just go around the engine and make sure I have everything covered. So starting from the driver's side, we have, oh, I need to do this, okay. So this just needs to be fixed, but that's all good. We got fuel lines on both here and here. We're missing this bottom fuel line. We just need to loosen this off and put it on. And then we have the bracket holding our wire harness. Wire harness is attached. We have the spark plugs in, and we have, well, that didn't hold on very well, but that's good enough. We have the wire harness coming down here. We have a line coming from the breather. We have the rear breather hose running across to the other side. We have our intercooler brackets mounted, one on the manifold and one mounted back there. And then if we come along the back, we have our recirc hose from the intake or to the intake. We've got our two lines, our two gauge lines. We have the throttle body hooked up, coolant hooked up, the throttle body plugs in. We have our temperature sensor back here. We have our lines coming off of the PCV old system. These all have to be plumbed in once it's in the car. This one needs to be run to the PCV, or the system that we're setting up, so you won't see that attached till tomorrow or next video. Well, obviously, next video. We've got the turbo on, because the turbo, we did that, I think, 2 videos ago. We have our coolant tank on, all solidly mounted because we hacked that piece off, and then we mounted it just using the 2 bolts here. We now have our coolant hose. So I think I showed you guys this, the coolant, instead of doing an S into the turbo, we have it going through something and then going to the turbo. You guys probably know what that is if you know Subarus. And then this is a line I think I did when I left you guys last time, was we had this capped off. This can't be capped off actually. This needs to be boost controller line. So this runs boost controller down here, and then it runs to the boost controller itself here, which is in the vehicle like that, kind of on the wall. And then we have it plumbed up to the turbo itself. Lines, more lines, more lines. Oh, this I didn't show you guys. These are the coolant coming off the coolant tank. These are ready to go and ready to be hooked up once they're in the car. We have our beautiful but super annoying intake, so that's ready to go. I'll put a rag in there for tonight. And then we have this. This also needs to be ran to the system that's going to be sitting right there. And then we got these lines. This one, done, don't need it. This one, power steering, and this one we don't need. So we actually only have one line here that we need, and that goes to the power steering. And then our, as I said, we have our mounts for our accessories, and then we have our evap delete right here, which is beautiful. Don't need it because, well, there's nothing there anymore. So everything is ready to go, guys. I'm super excited. So I'm gonna do those few things here, and that was it. Yeah, there. And then I'm just going to check the grounds because I can't remember if I cleaned them off or not. And then I think I'll do one last update, and then that's probably it. It's got a little bit darker. It's rainy now, if you want to wonder what the weather is out here. But I'll do those because I can't remember what I've done in this video. It's been a long day. I went ahead and plugged this line right here so that I didn't have to worry about it. I also went ahead and fed the intercooler water meth spray back into the car pretty much. So I just fed them in so I can figure out which lines they are, because that's the lines that are gonna be fed with our new gauges. So we're gonna take those old ones out. I also just put some brackets and stuff and made sure that's all good. So there is some prep I have to do before we put the motor in tomorrow, but not too much. So we're looking good. And then I just painted this black because it needed to be black. It was really annoying. And then we can put the newly painted latch on. So that is it for the engine. As I said, some stuff we'll have to do tomorrow, but we're getting so close. And then the engine's all good, ready to go. I bolted this down. And then I also found the missing bolt that we didn't have and put that in. So everything is now torqued down and ready to go. Oh, I should also cover this up with a rag. So I'll do that before we head, or before I leave tonight. But that is it. Look at that, guys. The engine's ready to go finally on Project Daily. Tomorrow is gonna be the big day where we get to put this in and get it all ready to go. So that is gonna be it for today. So as I said, tomorrow is the day where we get to put this guy in that car. Finally, only been maybe almost 6 months. Well, pretty close. So it's a long time coming. There's a lot of upgrades we did to this. It's going to be awesome. I'll also be showing you guys what I did with all these hoses, where these hoses are going to run. As you guys probably know, you guys probably, or at least some of you guys have guessed what is going to be in there. So one last guess, put it in the comments below if you know what all these lines are for that are running to the back of the engine. But that is going to be it for me today. So as always, peace out and stay humble.